So Trevor, thanks for doing the interview. And on my notes here, the first thing that popped in my head to ask you about was your YouTube channel, because for a while I didn't notice much activity from you just in terms of your Bandcamp and posting songs. And I know in your interview with Tim, you mentioned, periods where you would delete things and re-add them and stuff like that. But the YouTube video kind of came as a surprise because you obviously had a very good setup for performing the songs, for recording the songs. It gave kind of a live experience for the people watching it, and it really shed light on, the quality of the songs and the performance and what it really takes to pull that off. And it seems like you've been getting a good response from it, and it's a different venue than what I'm used to using because I primarily use Bandcamp. But I'm wondering, have you seen some, unique benefits to doing the whole YouTube approach?
I would say YouTube has definitely brought some more people in to the Trevor Blendour / Blendours camp, whatever. I've recruited more fans that way. I would say the big thing really is when I noticed it was like blowing up was through Facebook, because they initially started out on Facebook. And that's where I like post. Like when I would finish a video, it basically, I finish a song, then I pantomime what I'm doing on video. I'm not actually, I mean, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you're trying to get people, you can edit this out.
Your video edits, like, I figured it was probably that just because the quality of the recording was so good.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way you're doing it, it looks live, so it might as well
That's the idea. It's to try to immerse the listener and the viewer into thinking that it's really happening and give them an experience, like I'm just playing my guitar, just singing, just playing it, and I think a lot of people, it really did kind of like take off a lot more than I thought it would on Facebook. And what happened was what's the guy? A guy, I believe his name is Chad Mueller, and he's out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And he's a friend of my bandmate, Brooke from Surf Zombies. He's a friend of his. And he shared the song Carly Please on a Facebook group called Power Pop, or like I Love Power Pop Pandemonium or something about loving power pop or some power pop group on Facebook. He shared it, and it just got like all these like crazy shares and responses, and like people, obviously a whole bunch of people I never met and don't know heard it and were like freaking out about it. And he said like the guy who's like the manager for Brian Wilson or something commented on it or something, and I was like, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, man.
That's insane. But so yeah, I would say the videos, starting out on Facebook and then I put it on YouTube, they're just, I think people just love to see it that way, or like it gets people's attention more to see it and hear it. Like if I just put up a Bandcamp link, it's on Facebook or whatever. Like people will listen to it, like some people, dedicated fans, but I just feel like the video aspect, like playing in front of my VHS wall, people, it like gets people's attention. It's just so much more shareable, and those little bite-sized, pop songs become, it's easy to share and like and all that stuff. So I kind of tapped into that a little bit.
Well, it's a cool approach. I think all the reasons you just mentioned are definitely very valid. Another thing that kind of leads to my next question is YouTube. You never know who's going to stumble upon your videos, and you've been able to tap into this power pop scene, which is, I think, pretty distinct and different than the pop punk scene. And then, you already have had forays into other styles of music with Surf Zombies and stuff. I mean, that's like a different scene altogether. So the significance of that to me is that you're broadening your vistas as far as who could appreciate your songwriting. And for the casual 90s pop punk fan, I think there's probably a limit to how deeply they can appreciate your craft. But if you get into people who are into power pop, or people who are heavily influenced by early Beatles or Brian Wilson, Beach Boys, or Buddy Holly, all these things, it's like now you're talking to people who have a musical background, like a legit education in music, and really, you know, people who have studied songwriting. And I feel like that's where you belong, you know. And I don't know what your formal music education is, but you obviously know, you know, a good deal about melodic rock songwriting. And I think it's important that you put yourself out there that way, because now it's got to be more satisfying too, to have people who are kind of like connoisseurs of songwriting to approach you and be like, yeah, it's like, you're on this level. That's, you know, because when you're pigeonholed into like a little scene, it's so what do you have to say about that?
I would agree. The pigeonholed thing is big. It's like, that's my whole thing that I'm like striving for nowadays, is to, you know, I'm sure like every single, like whoever you look up to and whoever I look up to musically, like they like, you have your roots. Like I think like Kim Shattuck from the Muffs, like as an example, I'm sure like, you know, when she was doing like the first couple albums and stuff like that, she had no problem with like being associated with like the punk rock scene. And then as she got older, it's like, you know, you take on more influences, and, you know, it's like, you just kind of, you just don't want to always be associated with that thing that, you know, you started your career on, these punk rock roots. And it's, you just kind of, you want to strive for more. You want to, you know, you don't always want to be associated with that one genre, you know. It doesn't matter if it's punk, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, whatever. But, and that's just kind of like where I'm kind of at. It's just, you just get older, and you I like to, you know, I mean, I don't know if you listened to the most recent thing that I put out. It was just like a short 10-minute blast of like 7 songs, all done the old school Blendours way. And it's just like, you know, mostly straightforward, like punkier stuff. But I have no problem with doing something like that every once, you know, if it is inside me, you know, to like just do something like that. But I also like to, you know, broaden my horizons and just do something bigger, you know, something that a mass, or like a broader audience can like enjoy, you know. Even, you know, like I would like to think that the songs like Carly Please and you know, the other one like Don't Mean Maybe, and like some of the more power pop stuff, I would hope that like it doesn't alienate the OG Blendours fans, but it also, you know, can welcome new audiences in as well. Like I hope it has something for both audiences. That's what I'm trying to walk that fine line, you know.
Well, I think you're achieving that. I mean, I'm an old Blendours fan. I think those songs are great. I think it has crossover appeal for sure. And then you've got songs like Gonna Get Tested and Boring Guy, which kind of satisfy the, you know, the traditionalist pop punk in me. But one thing, you know, Trevor, I see you as an individual, you know, someone who is following your own path and has your own point of view on your craft. And that's why it makes me happy to see you branching out like this, because in our little pop punk bubble, the thing that I talk about a lot in interviews is how people have this tendency to just continue doing the same thing over and over again. And
you know, it's not more, I don't want to take anything away from people that are like really pure about doing it, like, you know, straightforward Ramones style pop punk. You know, I in my heart, you know, I love it. You know, I always love it, and it's I will always crank it up, put it on, you know, put on some Mean Jeans or something like that, and just I love it. You know, in my heart, like as much as like sometimes I try to like say that I'm like older and I'm like matured, you know, and I've tried to deny that part of me. It's always going to be a part of the songwriting, as my songwriting, and like the way I deliver the end product. So
for sure,
I was going to say more power to the people that you know, power to the people that really keep it true and keep it straightforward pop punk.
Oh yeah, and I can relate to that strongly. I mean, I have my leather jacket still in the closet, and I gravitate.
Me too, baby. Me too.
I gravitate a lot towards bands like Covert Flops and the Putts, and bands that are super, kind of like aesthetically traditional, and they just do a really great job. I love that. I mean, I always want to see more of it too. But my instincts as a person, as an artist or whatever, is like to just try to do different stuff too, and whatever you can bring that's unique, that represents who you are, I think is going to be more valuable anyway. And it's like you're already on that path, which is, to me, it's like you're well on your way to achieving greater things that I think are going to bring you a greater level of
I'm trying, baby.
Right
I'm
on,
trying.
man. Yeah. So when I was reading Tim's interview with you, and you were talking about kind of your beginnings and everything, I'm interested to know what your approach was to learning the craft of songwriting, because it's obviously something you've put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to sort of master it in various ways. And for myself, like, I wasn't formally trained. I like learned chords from books from the library and listened to punk for so long that it was kind of in my head, and it was just a matter of translating it into my own songs. And the more you do anything, if you're earnest in it and you're passionate about it, you're going to improve over time. So, like, we're both like 300 songs in, and I think at this point we found our own sound and stuff like that. But how did you start to develop your own instincts and comfort level with songwriting?
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, I'm trying to think about, because I'll just go back. I took guitar lessons for a couple months, I think, is all I really did. And then I just couldn't, just being a teenager, I couldn't stick to it. With girls and school and drama and stuff, it was just like it was basically, I just wanted to play my guitar and play power chords and play like Blink 182 and Sum 41 and stuff like that. And I didn't want to actually learn. I just wanted to, you just want to run before you crawl, kind of thing. And I didn't buy, I had a little bit of training, like, just learning like the blues scale and learning how to play a power chord. And I'm not sure, it's just you take different things from like everybody that you meet, every musician that you meet, and can have like a sit down little session with. And I was in Lipstick Homicide for a little bit.
Nice.
And
Great
I learned a lot from Rachel and Kate, and and Luke, the drummer for Lipstick Homicide. Him and I grew up and we learned how to play music together. And so we learned a lot from each other as well. I would say like the big person that came in and like taught me a lot was Ian, who Ian was a Cedar Rapids. So I lived in Iowa City, Coralville area, and he lived in Cedar Rapids, it's about half an hour from each other. But he would sometimes come to shows. He would come to see Lipstick Homicide. And when I first started the Blendours, it was just me and my girlfriend at the time, Bree. And we would just like smash through like 15 songs in like 22 minutes, like playing as fast as possible. Like, it was just me playing on acoustic guitar and her standing up and singing harmonies. And he didn't really have like a punk rock background. Ian didn't have a punk rock background per se. He was like into like Green Day, when it was popular. And but he was more like he liked Beach Boys and the Strokes and kind of more like indie rock stuff. And I think when he saw the Blendours, he was like really like he was just taken back. Like, I think he had never seen anything like that. Kind of like if you think back to like the 70s when people saw the Ramones for the first time, like how crazy that was to like just 1, 2, 3, 4, just blast through a set like that. I think that was what that was like for Ian, to see the Blendours for the first time. And he came to a show of, or it didn't come to a show. I think he just happened to see our show. And then he instantly became friends, and we started talking about recording, and he wanted to record us. And I said, I don't have a drummer. And he said, I'll play drums for you. And so then he had like his studio at his home, which we recorded Here We Go Again.
I like that album a lot.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I like No Respect. I mean, we won't get into it. That's a side topic. That's a
Yeah,
side
yeah,
topic.
we
I'll
can, we
get.
can revisit that, but I understand. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a specific, distinct era, and like,
yeah.
and then there's a different era, and now there's the current era. So
hmm
different feelings for each one.
So yeah, so Ian and I became friends, and he was, he had an influence like more Beach Boys, more Beatles. Like I liked the Beatles, but like I didn't know how to like play a lot of the chords. I didn't know how to play. Just my training was very like raw, just very bare
Yeah,
bones.
the
But
seven
I
chords, the set,
yeah,
yeah, all that stuff. I checked out a Beatles chord book from the library, and it was a real eye opener. I'll tell you, for some of that.
yeah. Um, and so I think like he kind of Ian is really good at serving up like he's good at like putting information in a way that I can understand, because like I didn't go to college, like I'm pretty like I'm not like super dumb, but like
No, come on.
I mean he's just he's good at putting in things in terms that I understand. And I think he saw where I was coming from with my background of just like just do it, play it fast, play it like
Mhm.
be melodic and fast. And he definitely put like Beach Boys and more like oldies rock and roll into my life.
Mhm.
And lots of car, because I had joined Surf Zombies at a certain point, and we would have lots of car rides where we would sit and we would listen to oldies music, and we'd just really hear him like driving back at like 2 a.m. And that stuff's just like moments like that where you hear a vocal performance, or you hear like a chord progression or something that just really it hits right here. And we just had a lot of those moments where like I was just understanding music, and we'd talk about it. Like we'd hear a song like from the Beatles or from, some oldies doo-wop artist or
Mhm.
something. And
Oh
we'd
yeah.
talk about it and try to relate it to pop punk or punk rock. And like, yeah, see the chord progression they're doing. Like that's what you do on like Teenage Drag Queen, but like,
Yeah.
see, they play it like slightly different.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I'll just say, bottom line, Ian was a big influence on helping me like learn more about like music, theory, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not really sure like how it's really weird, like how I started out playing bark, like just like a power chord, your root and your fifth and your
Mhm.
octave. And then it
Mhm.
was like, and then I knew I wanted to incorporate the third or the minor third.
Mhm.
And then it just, then somehow I incorporated an entire bar chord in
Oh yeah.
there. I'm not sure how that actually came about. I'm sure it just came from playing, because I never had a band of my own, so I had to
Mhm.
make the sound as full as possible with just one acoustic guitar.
So you're playing all the strings then on those super fast strummed songs that I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Do it.
if I'm sorry to interject, but like what
Do it.
you're talking about with Ian, I think that's very important because when I first encountered your music, a lot of it was the acoustic stuff, and you're just blasting through songs, and you're very precise, like very technically adept as a guitarist and as a singer. I think that should be said because in addition to being a good songwriter, you have chops, vocally and guitar wise. Like it's really impressive and fun to watch you play. But I was thinking in my head, like my first impression of you was like, man, this guy's got so much talent. Like I wonder where he's going to go with it. And having someone like Ian to provide those insights and to communicate with you about like, hey, consider this, if you consider that, let's analyze this a little bit more and pick it apart.
Mhm.
Like those are such valuable lessons, to have, to bounce off of like-minded people. I'm sure that did a lot to kind of help you
It
evolve
did.
as a
It,
musician. Yeah,
it did. Yeah.
that's great. So I have, let's see, a whole list of topics here. If you don't mind, I'll kind of switch gears and go into something else.
Go
Um,
for it.
okay. So one thing I tend to talk about a bit in my interviews is something that I've found is a common link between people like us who are creative and who are compelled to create things that we can kind of showcase and be like, hey, this is is what I have to offer, you know, in addition to whatever else, you know, as a human being. Like, I think that the songwriting thing is something that's important to me to offer to whoever cares about it enough to, you know, appreciate it. But another thing that I find a lot of times with people, close friends of mine who are songwriters, people like Cody, people like you know, you and many countless others, is that we are very sensitive people, you know, and we struggle with life. And it's like, I've suffered from depression and OCD and weird social stuff throughout my life. I've always kind of had stuff in the back of my mind that's bothering me, and it's hard to live that way. But there's some kind of blessing and curse aspect to the like type of life that we live. And I wonder if you can
Yes.
comment on that, you know, because for me, like, I wouldn't trade my songwriting ability for anything because I really value it. But I realized that I wouldn't have it without the, you know, deeply sensitive nature of being like a creative type of person. So any thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
it is weird. The blessing and a curse kind of thing. Because like I wouldn't be I wouldn't be going on like a musical path if it weren't for my lack of eyesight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I'm a highly competitive person.
Yeah.
Competitive in this, and I take it in a songwriting sense. Like I don't know, I can't be competitive like with sports or anything like that because of my vision. So I try to do it with songwriting. And so it's weird because it's like, obviously I want to have my vision, like, you know, I have no sight in this actually a fake eye. This one
Mm-hmm.
right here
Mm-hmm.
is fake. And so I have limited vision in this eye, and so it's I want to have perfect vision, but um at the same time I know that I wouldn't have chose a musical path if it wasn't for, you know, not, having my limited vision. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
So it's strange.
Well, having that outlet, I'm sure, meant everything because it gives you some kind of pathway to follow where you can be passionate about it, and you can show people like, this is what I'm made of, this is what I'm capable of. And you really raise the bar a lot. I mean, like, this YouTube era of your music it was it was a I so I
Is
had a
it is it a YouTube era?
well, I don't know
Is
about that.
is
I
it?
mean, I know you have other plans for it, but I was just so struck by that series of videos that you posted, the
You
live.
so okay, I got to tell you about that, the slew of songs
Okay.
that came out kind of earlier in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Um so I'd written those songs, like, maybe some of those are like 5 years old, like um 4 or 5 years old, that I kind of, so, you know, I told you, like, Ian was kind of trying to transition me into like listening to more oldies and doo-wop and stuff, and we really loved the Ramones, and then we kind of got like straight from the Ramones, like I mean, I always loved the Ramones, but we got really into the first Ramones album, like really, really, really into the first Ramones album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we transitioned, and then we were kind of like at the same time listening to like old, like 50s doo-wop music.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where those songs came from, was just from like the rawness of that first Ramones album, and then like just like listening to like oldies, like playlists and oldies radio, and Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry, and he had like Chuck Berry tape, a Chuck Berry tape in his, he drives a Gremlin, like an AMC Gremlin, and we would go get
Nice.
like, we'd go get burgers and listen to Chuck Berry, and those are some great times.
That's great
And
times, man.
I think that's where like those two things kind of married. Like everybody was like, what like a lot of people ask, who's your favorite um power pop band, but I'm like, I mean, I listen to power pop sometimes, but all I was trying to do was like write oldie songs that had more of a punk rock attitude
Mm-hmm.
to them, and that's all I was trying to do. I was never trying to write straight pop, power pop. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Well, it seems
I don't
like
know.
you're geared towards a more universal sort of approach to the songwriting, which opens the doors for a lot of different types of fans. And I think that's something I'm interested in too, because I think maybe it's typical just to start out with a very specific focus, because when I started, kind of like you, I was kind of just really trying to be as screeching weasel as I could possibly be, and eventually you find your voice, and then you realize like you can do a lot with that. And the exploration, once you get the confidence to do that, I think it's a really important step to take. So that's cool, man. Yeah, I really think that you have achieved a universal appeal with that set of songs. And like I said, in my message to you, I think that your understanding of music and your intuition is such that you could probably do any genre that you felt like doing. It's just like depends on your inspiration, whether that's really, what you're feeling at the time, as you said, in Timbo's interview. So
Yeah, I should rewind a little bit. I got on such a tangent. I didn't even answer your original question.
oh, that's all right.
But yeah, like some of those songs are like 4 or 5 years old, and with quarantine and all that shit, I was like, you know what? Ian and I are never gonna get around to recording these fucking songs properly, like the way that we're supposed to. So I'm just gonna plug my guitar into my interface, and
Yeah,
I'm just gonna program the drums, and
yeah.
those are fake drums you're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna do it all by myself, and I'm just gonna put up a song. And the first song I did, what did I do? I
You
think
did
I
the
did
anime
like,
song pretty early on too. The
which
anime,
one?
the like
Oh
the
yeah,
full
yeah.
band version of anime is better than American
See,
TV.
that's another story. We'll get, let's make that the next topic.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Because I am very
so
interested in your process of home recording, because you get a really good sound.
yeah.
You do a really
Um,
good job.
so I just have like a Focusrite it's a two input
Mm-hmm.
Focusrite. Scarlett Focusrite is, I guess, what they call it. And that's just, it's pretty home studio. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like exactly like does what it's supposed to do. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
something that you'd have at home. And so anyway, I just decided to like do a song or two, and then it just, like I said, it just kind of blew up on Facebook, and like a lot of people were sharing it, and then I just got more motivation to do more songs. And
Yeah.
holy fuck, like I put out Carly Please, and that was like the biggest one where I saw like a lot of people sharing it. And like
Mm-hmm.
that was that was crazy. I was not, I wasn't expecting that. I was getting like thousands of views on Facebook and
Mm-hmm.
all these different Facebook groups sharing it. And I was just like, wow, I really have something here. And then I just
Yeah.
kept releasing more. And so I just knew that that was the sound that they like. So I just figured I would just release those songs that I had written like 4 or 5 years ago when I was into that like kind of oldies meets the Ramones kind of period. And I had been meaning, like Ian and I, we recorded No Respect, and like that was going to be our next thing, was to do that power pop stuff like Carly Please and Don't
Nice.
Mean Maybe and stuff like that. And
Nice.
then man, it's such a long story. So like Ian and I we would play around town. Like him and I would play like just acoustic, and we would do shows
I've
together.
seen some videos, I think, of you guys doing
Yeah.
that. Mm-hmm.
And we were getting booked at places and getting good guarantees, and you're paying the bills. and
Yeah, man.
and I think he was not so into it, because like we'd play like things like Hy-Vee, like grocery stores, like patios at grocery stores and stuff like that. And it was just, it was bumming him out, because like nobody would pay attention, and we'd just be like the background music, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of degrading, you know what I mean? It's kind of, you just feel kind of pathetic a little bit, like because I mean, I don't want to down I don't want to insult anybody that's what they do, is they play around town and they play patios and they play certain stuff like that. I was kind of hoping that we would play some patios and we'd play some different shows around town, and then it would become a big thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think he wasn't so into it, and then he kind of got out of doing the Blenders, and he's kind of more into doing like reggae
Mm-hmm.
ska kind of stuff. And he does his own dub
Mm-hmm.
um reggae stuff, and it is really fucking cool. I would, if you ever have heard Ian's stuff, or if you're friends with him on Facebook, I would definitely, like I said, he taught me a lot, and he is one of my best friends, and he's just his anything he does is always really interesting and cutting edge
Yeah,
and really awesome.
he sounds very
And
versatile in his music too.
he brings all of his influences from his Beach Boys era, from his punk rock era, from his newly found ska reggae era,
Mhm.
and he just puts them into a blender, as they
Yeah,
say.
Blender. Well, let me just, before I forget, I really want to make this point that when I hear those recordings that you've posted, the home recorded stuff, you don't skimp on anything. And I've home recorded most of my stuff, most of my catalog is stuff I've done at home. But when I hear
Mhm.
your bass lines, when I hear your drum programming, and I know how tedious that can be, like.
It is the definition of tedious. It is the
Oh, yeah.
definition of tedious.
Oh, yeah. But you go the extra mile, man, and every aspect of your compositions and arrangements and playing, I think you bring out the best in all of your songs in ways that really takes a lot of gumption and resilience to be able to pull off, because the patience that it takes to be able to play at that level, I mean, obviously you've got talent, but when you're recording, it has to sound, your takes have to be solid. And
Yeah.
when you're holding yourself to that standard, it's got to be a little stressful. But I gotta say, man, it's such a pleasure to listen to it and know, like, this is a home studio, but listen to how good that song sounds, because you're presenting it. It almost doesn't matter how it was recorded, because your arrangements are so good and your playing is very good too. But it's the detail, and I really hope that you appreciate, there are people who will notice that. I mean, there's probably plenty of people who are just like, oh, it's catchy, whatever. But like, if you dig deep into the tracks, if you go to the sessions, I'm sure you're going to see a lot going on with every instrument and the way it all comes together. That's rare, because plenty of people record stuff at home, but not everybody has that attention to detail. So I give you kudos
Yeah,
for
it's
that.
it's 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 really just from years and years of just having to do it by myself and not having a band, from the early Blendours days of just doing it. Just, all I had available to me was an acoustic guitar and my
Yep.
voice. That's
Yep.
it,
Yep.
And so I try to try to make my voice and my acoustic guitar sound as full and as big, and do as much as those two instruments can possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you bring, and now I have the access to, a bass guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and, all these, and Ian hooked me up with, virtual amplifiers and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So that's how I'm able to do that. And then, to program drums, it's like I want to make it that same quality of just like super duper tight. And I don't know if I would have, had that attention to detail if it wasn't for my like little humble beginnings of trying to make that acoustic guitar and my voice sound as perfect as possible.
Yeah. Well, that very thing definitely came across. Well, one of the things I noticed when I first heard your music, which was the older acoustic stuff, is like, you're playing your ass off, man. You were strumming very fast. Your tempos were tight. Your vocals were in
So
tune.
I gotta ask.
Okay.
Um, so there's downstroking, just like straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 downstrokes, all downstrokes.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know if you notice, I do like 1, 2, 3, and then up on the fourth
I
one,
did notice that.
like 1, 2, 3, 4. It because I can't do, all downstrokes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there's yeah.
that was a chip on my shoulder for a long time, because I remember discovering pop punk and thinking like, oh, maybe I can do this. And then I realized like, oh, wait a minute, they're doing all downstrokes. Like, God damn, like, I don't want to do that. So
Yes.
I kind of had to develop my own version of it as well. And
Mhm.
I don't know, some people are very traditionalist when it comes to that stuff, but what you did worked, and it sounded super tight. And I think that's kind of the goal of the downstrokes anyway, so it's like, whatever your personal accent is in terms of playing and pulling it off, like, you made it work. I think that's a thing that more people ought to sort of take notice, is like, whatever you've got, there's a way to make it work. It might not be identical to what everybody else is doing, but that makes it cooler in a way. Yeah. And I thought you did great. I mean, the power and the sort of energy that you projected in those early days, it really it made an impression, because not only were the songs catchy and stuff, but like you were going for it, obviously, and it added something essential, because when you're playing music, especially live, that you're communicating and you're offering something about yourself, and the more all out you go, the more admirable it is in a way, because some people kind of, they might take on a little bit of a facade and like look cool or whatever, but like I always felt like you just put yourself out there in a way that's very honest, and
I'll try to look cool. I mean, maybe it doesn't look like maybe it doesn't
it does
look
though.
like I'm trying to do anything, but I mean, if it looks like I'm not trying too hard, then awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But it was striking. I mean, it was enjoyable, and it took something. It took some, you have your talent, but you also there's something else. There's some other element that makes you want to really go for it and put it out there in the ways that you have. So it's like,
yeah, I don't know. I just in the early days, it was really, it was really just listening to a lot of Lillingtons, Teenage Bottle Rocket, and the Queers and stuff like, and the Ramones and stuff like that, and just being like, I don't know. They put it in terms that I could understand. They made music seem like it was something that I could do, and it just hit me at the right time.
yeah.
And I can play power chords or bar chords or whatever. And I don't have a band, but I'm gonna just try to do the best that I can with what I got. And it just started out as just me, and then I met Bree through Facebook after just putting up some demos, or some recordings of Blendour stuff, and she said that she wanted to, if I ever needed someone to harmonize and to do shows, that she would do it. And then we met, and then we released a couple albums together, and then through playing together, we met Ian, and Ian was huge. Ian got me into Surf Zombies, Ian got me into oldies, Ian got me into all sorts of stuff. And it's just been crazy. Like I feel like for the first time in my life, like I feel like I've met the girl that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. We actually just moved into a new this apartment that you're seeing right here. This is a completely new apartment. Like if you would have talked to me like 3 weeks ago, I would have been in a smaller, shittier apartment.
Are you in Des Moines right now? Is that the city?
I'm actually right outside of Des Moines, like 20 miles north of Des Moines, in a town called Ankeny. So it's just like a suburb. But it really is, like, in every sense of the word, it is a suburb. You got like, the term McMansions?
Yeah.
Like, like the cookie cutter, just like there's so many of those, just like everywhere. And then I live in an apartment that's like twice as big as the one that we had 3 weeks ago. Cool. And so I just feel like in a very very comfortable spot. I feel settled down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like
good.
I feel very much like there's not like nothing's up in the air anymore. It's just like I know my plan for the future. My girlfriend's gonna go to college at Iowa State. We're gonna, I'm gonna make more music. I'm gonna put out the power pop album thing, and in hopefully a couple months. And
look forward to that for sure.
I'm just feeling very settled down, feeling very comfortable. And I can't say it's the first time I've been able to say that in a long time. Just good. Always felt very, very cramped and very, I feel relaxed and comfortable. It's great.
It's a new chapter beginning, and you never gave up, which is important too. You kept going. I wanted to ask you about Iowa. This is something that came out in the interview with Timbo. That I noticed was your sentiments towards Iowa and where you grew up. And I'm from Virginia originally. Like I grew up in a little redneck town, and then I've been out in California for like 15 years in the Bay Area, which is a totally different culture. Very different in all the ways that I needed it to be different. Honestly, I came from a pretty like conservative, sort of redneck sort of zone, and being into punk and being a skateboarder and stuff, it wasn't cool, you know. So I had my eye on California, and I finally, you know, I ended up, you know, making the move. But so there is a skateboarder, Mike Vallely, who
Yeah,
it lives in Des Moines now, and
yeah,
he
yeah.
was
I've
talking
heard
about
about
Des
this.
Moines in a recent interview and saying when he moved to Des Moines, people asked him, "Where are you from?" But they didn't ask him, "Why did you move to Des Moines?" Because they already know what they've got. They know it's a great place, and they know that like
Hmm.
the lifestyle and the people and the community is something that's pretty unique in America. And I've never really spent time in Iowa, but I've always wanted to visit and check it out because I do get that sense that the people there have some kind of
Well,
special quality that you don't really see everywhere else.
you could, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily just Iowa. I think
Mhm.
it's just like a lot of the Midwestern states, you know, Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa,
Mhm.
you know, some parts of Illinois, um, some parts of Illinois. I
Qualified,
mean,
yeah.
you get closer to the Chicago area, you know, it's
Mhm.
different. It's not a small town. Um,
Right.
but I don't know. I mean, you say that I don't feel like we gloat, you know, about our, you know, how you know, Iowa nice, or that's like a phrase, you know,
Yeah,
Iowa nice.
yeah, yeah.
Uh uh I I don't know. I guess I haven't really put that much thought into it, like or like if that has had like any influence on me. I just know that I love small towns. Like
Yeah.
my girlfriend and I will go to small towns, like during quarantine when we didn't, you know, we couldn't get on a can't get on a plane and go on like a real vacation or anything. We would
Mhm.
just drive to small towns, and you know, we just love going to like a little shitty diner or like a little like ice cream stand, and just I just love that, like a small like 500
Mhm.
people town, and it just has like a burger stand or something like that, and
Yeah.
like one little thrift store where they have some VHSs. I collect VHSs, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah, yeah. I dig that, man. So I'm from that era for sure. Well, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. I can relate to having an affinity for small towns and simplicity and just, you know,
Hmm.
good people, you know, sincere people, and people who aren't, you know,
It
throwing.
just it keeps things simple. It really keeps things. There's one place to, you know, go get your food or go
Yeah,
get your
yeah,
groceries, and
yeah.
I don't know what it's like in your area, if there's just like so many options that
Oh
it's
yeah.
like
Yeah,
just mind blowing.
it's a bit overwhelming, you know, to be where you have so many choices and there's a lot of people, and it's a, you know, the pace is pretty fast and it can be a
Hmm.
bit stressful. Where I grew up was a smaller town, you know, and so I had the small town upbringing, but then I ended up we're not far from San Francisco. We're only about 10 miles from San Francisco, so it's, you know, it's a big tech hub, and it's very multicultural, it's very diverse, and so there's a lot of cool stuff. But there's always a catch, you know. And in
Hmm.
my case, the catch is it's super expensive and it's super crowded, and it's kind of like hard to relax unless you go out. And luckily, there's, you know, there's nice parks and mountains and stuff that you can escape to, or beaches or whatever. But it takes a little
Nice.
bit of an extra effort to do that.
Yeah.
Um, you know.
I mean, with yeah, I must say it is definitely a lot easier to relax in Iowa. Like there's definitely, I mean, you just walk a block, and then it's like you're in an area where like you can't hear any cars
Ah,
or like, you know, just any people. It's very easy to do that in Iowa, and I do like that part of it. It's just like, you know, you can walk on a trail very very easily. Like you drive like, you know, 2 minutes and you're on a trail, and you can go for like hours and just you know, not encounter anybody or very few people, and it's just, you get a lot of that. You definitely get a lot of nature, a lot of just, you know, just you and whoever, you know, me and my girlfriend, or who, you
yeah,
know, some alone thinking time. And we do a lot of that. We do a lot of walking around and just talking, and clearing our heads,
that's
and
great, man.
it's very very easy to do in Iowa, and I do like it for that reason.
Yeah, man. Seems like it offers a chance to balance your life a bit more than places that are super hectic, like where I live.
Yeah.
And one thing you and I both have in common is I think an obsession with Japanese culture. And
Hmm.
I visited Japan in 2015. I'm pretty like, you know, connected to that pop punk scene. You know, I know a lot of the bands over there, and I know there are a lot of Blendours fans for sure.
Do you know Mock Pelican?
Yeah, yeah, they're great. Yeah, they're awesome
Oh,
band.
so
I don't know the
good.
dudes personally, but I definitely know their music. The guys I know personally are like Nerdy Jugheads, the Hathaways, the Hum Hums, just people I met when I was on my trip. Hisashi's like the pop punk sensei over there. He knows everybody. And then Kazu's like Water Slide Records. And, you know, I mean, I grew up watching anime and playing video games too. And like, I'm actually studying Japanese language right now, trying to do what I can with whatever time I have left.
Dude, that's
You know?
so awesome.
You
That's
know,
so
so
awesome.
I've got a Japanese tutor that I do weekly, and I've learned hiragana and katakana, and I'm learning kanji, and I'm trying to just go for it. But it's just something special about Japan, and I know
It really
you
is.
get it.
Yeah.
I know you get it, and you know that's something I wanted to talk to you about too, because you're if you went and played in Japan, everybody would come out, everybody would be stoked, and it's a super supportive scene, and I don't know if you have any friends over there or if you communicate with people over there, but like I definitely get the sense that they super appreciate what you're doing in ways that maybe the American audience might not, at least in the pop punk world. And they have such a special scene over there. So is there
Mhm.
anything, anything that comes to mind when I bring that up?
Yeah. I mean, so I owe the, Eccentric Pop Records and Travis
Mhm.
for getting Blender's music out over there.
Mhm.
Um, and I, yeah, definitely a lot of dudes from Japan have hit me up and messaged me like
Mhm.
personally and like said like they really like the especially during the when I've been releasing the pop punk songs on YouTube and
Yeah.
Facebook and stuff, it really attracted a lot of new people and stuff. And so yeah, it's if somebody was to book it, if somebody was to like, if somebody was to, because I'm not made of money, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm just living paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm.
And for me, it's disability check to disability check.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my girlfriend makes good money, so that's why we're able to like move into a bigger place. But I mean, would love to go to Japan. I mean, I don't like flying, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of I get anxiety about
Same.
stupid little things, and but I would put up with flying to go to Japan for
Mhm.
sure. I would
Mhm.
take some Xanax, whatever I need to do. I would do it because I want to go there. I want to see the culture. I wanna experience the culture. I want to
Mhm.
buy some anime shit. I want to do all the stupid stuff that an American person would do
Oh
if
yeah.
they go over to Japan. And I'd love to rock Japan. There's been some talk about going to Japan with Surf Zombies,
Oh, okay.
the other band that I'm in,
Mhm.
and I would say that's probably a little more likely
Mhm.
than Blendours. Just, I mean, who's to say what's going to happen? I have very high hopes when we release this power pop album. Like finally, like Ian, I guess I haven't explained that part to you. Is so the hold up with the power pop album, like I got all the songs recorded on my end, but Ian was like, man, these drums, they sound pretty much like a drum machine.
Right.
So
Right.
what if I just take them and I record my own drum samples at home with like real studio mics, and I just make the drum sound real and
Mhm.
big, and
Mhm.
because I only have from my end, what I'm working with is I only have like four, like that's all I have for like a snare sample. It's like I four variants, but like he is programmed it in a way that like he showed me some of the demos, and it's like they sound like legit drums. Like I'm not sure if like when you listen to it, or if most people listen to it and notice, but it's like they're fake drums.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Well, I've
very
used
much.
fake drums for most of my whole deal, so I knew that was probably true, but the composition is really what I'm interested in, how you compose the drums and stuff. So I think it's probably a good idea what Ian's proposing. In the end, you'll be more satisfied with the sound if it sounds more natural and more acoustic.
Yeah,
But
it
but
just takes so long.
yeah, it
It's
does.
like that's the thing about it, is like because he has like a regular like 9 to 5 job, and he's got
Hmm.
his own projects. He's got his girlfriend, and he's just got his own life,
Yeah.
and so it just makes it take a really long time. Like any time that you have to count on when you have to depend on somebody else
Yeah, sure.
for your music or for
Mhm.
your art, it's like it's a big sigh is what
Yeah,
it
for sure.
is. It's like you because you can't do anything. It's like because you appreciate what they do, they're helping you out, they're
Yeah.
making your end product be better, but at the same time it's like sometimes I wake up and I just want to release the songs
Oh
as they
yeah.
are,
Oh yeah.
and I just want to be like, fuck it, just I don't care if they sound fake, because like you said, it's like the composition is there. I
Hmm.
took the time to write the drums this way, and I don't care if they sound fake. It's like,
Yeah.
what can I do?
Well, I've
You
always
know?
my whole approach to doing music in the digital age is to kind of do it as fast as and as immediately as I want to, but always have connections to people to collaborate with, and occasionally put out something that actually sounds good. Something that sounds like it's studio worthy. But I, my instinct is to just like get it out there as soon as I can, and so it is hard. It's hard to be patient. It's hard
Yeah,
to put
yeah.
your faith in other people, when it comes to your own passionate projects. So what I try to do to balance that is always have the option to put stuff out while I'm working on other stuff too, and that's worked for
Mhm.
me. Like right now, I have an album that's about to come out with someone who recorded all the instruments. It sounds great. And while he was doing that, I was working on a whole nother set of songs. So it's like I
Right.
still got to have the feeling of like control, I guess, but I knew that it was worth waiting for his contributions because all my best albums are the ones that he contributes to. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of value the people you collaborate with, but still make it work for your own schedule, your own, however, whatever your approach
Hmm.
is. Because we're all a little crazy. So it's hard to just like sit there twiddling your thumbs and waiting.
Yeah.
You got to kind of keep things moving.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you say that you're working on another project while waiting, that's exactly what I did with putting out that 9-10 minute Blendours acoustic thing. I needed something to keep me preoccupied while I'm waiting for Ian to make the drums sound real. I knew I needed to do something in the meantime, and so that
So
kept me
was
preoccupied.
that like the set of old Blender songs? Because I saw the one where you played the whole album, the first album, cover to cover, right? Or like beginning to end. But was this something else, like another, um, like revisiting of old Blender songs or something else?
The newest thing that I did was called the Blenders Go on Vacation, and it's just
Okay.
like me standing in front of like a fountain with like a little fruity drink, and it's like seven songs in like 10 minutes, and it's done the old school Blenders way,
Nice.
where it's just acoustic guitars and
I
just
gotta check it out.
fast, and yeah, that's pretty much what it is. What are you talking about with playing it
So
cover to
you did a
cover?
set. You said I think you just played like the first Blenders album from beginning to end. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, on the YouTube video.
Yeah, I checked
Yeah,
that
the
out,
YouTube.
and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I gotta say, while it's in my head, that all the music videos you've done on your channel are great, and like the extra effort that you've put in with all the production value that you have at your disposal with costume changes and green screens, it's all like I appreciate that stuff, man, because I'm like I'm pretty limited in what I have to work with as well, under my
Mhm.
circumstances. So when I see you doing that stuff, I'm like, hell yeah, man! Like he's making the most of what he's got, and it's coming across.
That's all you can do, you know what I mean? It's if I can make my girlfriend laugh while she's filming it, then I succeeded, because that's all it really is, you know what I mean? Just to make myself laugh and make us laugh, and
It's good.
just have fun with it. Like, so this is where we can probably get into Anime Destroys American
Okay,
TV
good,
and
because
that music
I
video.
that one really hit. It hit different, as they say.
Yeah,
When I saw that,
yeah.
I was like, damn. It's
So
because
that was
I saw the acoustic version first,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you came out with the electric like music video version in the mall and everything, and I was just like, yes, like this is my.
Yeah, that was at the peak of my J-pop punk
Mm,
listening. Like so I don't know if you there's a couple bands that I really really got super into. Maybe like back around that time when I right before I released that song. Total Fat is one of
mhm.
the bands. It's just one word, Total Fat. And
Okay.
they play like, that no effects beat that's like do that, 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 do that.
Yeah.
And I always loved that beat, but like I never got to incorporate it in songs because no drummer can play it. Like
Yeah, it's hard to be tight. Like the
it's
no effects
because
drummer is kind of in a league of his own.
yeah, you have to be an animal. You have to be a machine to play that tight and fast.
Yeah.
And so, having access to fake drums,
Yeah.
helped make that possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew I could do it. So yeah, it's just them. Total Fat is one of them, and another band called Four Get Me A Knots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even, it's like a weird Japanese like mistranslation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Four, like FOUR, Get Me A Knots.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that, and like a lot of, obviously a lot of like anime openings and stuff. Like, just they're just a different type of like, can I just say that like the pop music over in Japan is just pound for pound, it is so much better than American pop music. Like it's just there's interesting chord changes. It's so much more fast and energetic and happy and fun and melodic and just cool. It's so cool.
It's very distinct. So check this out. So you got like your regular American progressions, right? Like your 1-4-5 and all that, but your Japanese progression, like
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's still 4 chords, but the intervals, it makes such a difference the way they play it, and the phrasing is longer. So like their verses or whatever, I don't even know how you would really break it down into parts, but it's like it's a different flowing kind of melody, and it's really powerful. And I've really kind of obsessed over that for the last couple of years too, about like, wow, like what is this formula? Like how can I tap into it and stuff? And it's cool. I'm glad you were on that, because I pay attention to Japanese music too and try and sample what I can. It's pretty, and they're they have a real affinity for the NoFX beat and the crunchy guitars and the sort of pseudo metal punk, but with very melodic vocals as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and their solos are always so melodic. Like they're always like kind of like sound like 80s, kind of like wah, ba, 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 ba. Like
everybody
like crazy. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So for that song, like, yeah, you were going for something else.
Yeah, it was definitely just like at the height of the anime J-pop punk J-pop period, where I wanted to do something that was the culmination of all those things. And at the same time, like I had originally wrote that the Anime Destroys American TV with completely different lyrics, and the song wasn't even going to be about anime at all.
Okay.
It was going to be like a really depressing song about like I'm sure it's been written a million times, but like how you get older and you like lose your friends that you had when you were younger, and you just you're into different things. And then I kind of woke up one morning and I just had an idea of like, because like Ian is not into anime at all, and honestly most of my friends are not into anime. And so I feel pretty alone in that respect, where it's like I have to kind of like stand my ground and be like, no dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. I swear it's awesome. And so I was like, what if I just make the song like about how anime is better than American television, like American shows? And then I remember saying it to Carly, my girlfriend, while I was like pouring my mini wheats in the morning, and she was like, that'd be funny. And I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna do it. And then she went to work, and then I like wrote all the lyrics, and then I had it. And I recorded the acoustic version, which was, so it's like it has that no effects beat, but I did it with like
a cup or something,
with like some Tupperware.
Yeah. I remember. I was like, wow, that's pretty precise.
Cool. Yes, if you have, I don't know what you use to record, what your Pro Tools or Reaper or whatever you use.
GarageBand. I just use
GarageBand. Okay.
Mhm.
I use Reaper,
Mhm.
and I can get pretty precise. I mean, if you want to know how I can get precise, it's with Reaper. I mean, I can
Mhm.
get in there and I can move
Yeah.
things like,
Think of-
totally precisely. So don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I try to be as precise as I can, but
Yeah.
I have the tools to make me be precise at the same
Trevor,
time.
Trevor, there is no shame in editing, my friend. Okay. Authors do it. We do it. Okay. It's just simple as that. Like, yeah, I chop up my guitar parts all the time and punch in and vocally, whatever you got to do,
You got to do what you got to do to
you got to
make the
do what you got to
song
do.
as good as possible. And I understand the other side of it, where you want to keep it raw, when you
Mhm.
want to keep it real. And I'm down to record that album someday where it's raw and real, and we're just kind of making it up as we go and all that stuff. I'm down to do that album someday.
Yeah.
But for now, it's like, anyway. So yeah, I recorded the acoustic version with, some Tupperware, and I think I had like a pencil I was
Yep.
smacking, because I didn't have drumsticks at the time. So it really was like using the bottom of a Tupperware, like a big plastic Tupperware thing, as the bass drum,
Mm-hmm.
and then using like the top of a coffee can as
Yep.
the snare drum.
That's all you need.
And
Kick drum
then
snare.
that was pretty much all it was, I think, to create the
Yeah. Yeah.
beat. And then I was like, it was like a few years later when I decided to record the full band version
Oh,
with
I'm
the
glad you did. I'm
fake
really glad
drums.
you did. Because when I heard the original version, I was like, I could tell what you were going for. And I mean, your guitar parts were shredding, even though it was like no distortion. It was like, damn, I could tell what you were going for. And then when you really did it, you really did it. You really realized it, and it's great.
I mean, that's honestly a metaphor for the Blenders right there in general. Is like, from, if you think back to the early days when I never had a band,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had the acoustic guitar. You can always hear what I'm going for, but
Yeah.
I just never had the band to do it.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
I would say, that what you said right there, where you could tell what I was going for.
Mhm.
That's what I wanted to create with early Blender stuff, was just like, so that people could tell what I was trying to go for, even though I don't have a full band.
Well, you pulled it off, man. And before we, move on to other stuff, kind of to stay on the Japan topic, one thing that I find with a lot of Japanese bands is that their playing is super tight. Their songs are super catchy, and they're super kind of enamored with the American style, right? But and you're playing super tight and super catchy, but it's more kind of your own unique individual voice. What I tried to, I don't know if I was successful, but what I tried to convey to my friends who are in Japan, I was like, man, you guys are way better than most American bands, because you're super tight. Your recordings are like pristine. Your songwriting is excellent, and you need to celebrate yourself more, because they're so humble over there, and like,
They are, yeah.
yeah, and my kind of mission now is to sort of put more shine on their scene, because I feel like Indonesia too. Indonesia's got a great scene. They've just got so many talented people, and they always kind of look to the West for approval. But I wish we could shake that up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I wish we could kind of look to them for approval. I've started writing some songs in Japanese because I'm trying to learn the language, and like I have this grand scheme to be just doing a project where I'm only really pushing it in Japan and Indonesia, and see what happens, because we take for granted, being Americans, that like all the big bands are from here, all the Bay Area bands, or all the whatever, classic American punk bands, or Ramones, or whatever. It's all from our country, but people from around the world have great contributions to offer too. And I always want to make them feel like they have a place at the table,
Absolutely. Like I didn't know that they that they were insecure about themselves, that they didn't that they didn't pat themselves on the back. I didn't realize that about other cultures, Japan and other cultures. I mean, I thought they realized. If they don't realize, Japan, listen,
yeah
You blew my mind.
Yeah.
More than anything that's ever been blown my mind in many, many years. Because I was in my late 20s. I'm 32 now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was in my late 20s, and I remember I discovered J-pop and J-pop punk, and
Mhm.
I instantly like felt like I was young, like I was
Yeah.
young, and I could do anything with my life again. Like I could start over like right now and just be like positive,
Hmm.
and just go if I, because that's what they instilled in me. That's what their
Yeah.
music did.
Yeah.
It hit me. It hit me in such a way with such positivity, such
Hmm.
it's just so uplifting. Like and no, I've never heard anything in my entire life. Maybe the Beatles, possibly, that has hit me the same way to like make me feel like I could start over again and I could do anything with my life.
Hmm.
Um, than when I discovered J-pop and J-pop punk kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I know a lot of the J-pop stuff is pretty, um, I would say manufactured. I guess that kind of makes it sound, like an insult to them or something. But the way they produce it, it's a lot of
Yeah,
people coming together to create
yeah.
this commercially viable thing. But it is, I mean, what it is remarkable. And whoever's writing the songs is like it's like a genius
Mhm.
aesthetic that they've created, and it's very unique to Japan. But it's cool to, I mean, we kind of come from a similar like underground music scene, and Japan has their own underground pop punk scene, which is kind of separate from J-pop, obviously. But it's just, I've always been really fascinated with how anybody with talent can make music and create a community based around their art, whether you have the backing or not. I mean, we're pretty good examples of that because we do it all from our respective homes with whatever technology we have, and we do the best that we can, and
Mhm.
we've gathered some momentum that way. But I don't know. I'm a huge Japanophile, so I'm always kind of thinking about like how to connect myself to their culture more every day. I keep claiming to my friends over there like, yeah, I'm studying, like, but soon I'll come over and we'll have conversations in Japanese, and we'll see what happens. But
That's so awesome.
yeah.
I'm not as dedicated, I promise.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you see the anime posters and stuff, but I it's it's a big part. It's a huge part, but yeah, your dedication is you've gone above and beyond, my friend. And
You got to at
that's
least you got to consider and entertain the idea of going over there at least once for a visit, because
like I said, I mean, if somebody, you know, it's if somebody actually just asked me a couple days ago
Mhm.
if Surf Zombies would consider touring Canada,
Mm,
and I was like, well, see, the thing is about doing like a big, like, far out tour is like, that means we have to take time off work. We
yeah,
have to spend time away from our loved ones.
yeah,
We have to basically, I mean, unless we're getting like massive guarantees at a
mm,
lot of places, we're losing money.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I understand, like, I love playing music. It's, I live to play. Uh, but it's really, really hard to kind of get everybody in Surf Zombies to say, all right, fine, I'll take 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is off work. We'll take a plane over to, wherever, and
mhm,
go do it. It's just, or, take the van all the way up to Canada or something like that. It's just, it's tough,
well,
and
I'll tell you what, my idea is Trevor and Dream Deeds and maybe a couple other American bros, like, or whoever, board the plane, go to Japan, get some acoustic guitars when we land from friends, and play some sets and hang out in Japan. And like that would rule, simple as that.
if you set it up,
Yeah.
we can
We'll-
work out the details.
yeah. We'll stay in touch.
I
Or
I
even, I mean, when I went, I played a show and had my friends from the Hathaways be my backing band, you know, and like it worked out great, you know. And then like we just did one rehearsal before the show, and then we went to Akihabara and looked at figures and video games for the rest of the time. It was like awesome.
That's the dream.
Yeah, man. So we definitely after this interview, we'll stay in touch, and I'll try and you know, keep that idea fresh in your head for future reference.
Because you know, I guess I should mention this is I did get asked a couple months ago from I think his name's Gumbo Fran.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude,
yeah,
Bone. My brother from
Bone.
Yeah, so good.
He asked me if we would be, or if I would be, initially asked me if I would be interested in coming over to Germany to play. Yes, Puke Fest, yes. And I said, you know, first I pretty much before I like even answer any text from anybody that's like even your text, or even anybody's text, I always consult Ian.
Okay.
Ian is like the brain. Yeah. Like I'm the impulsive, like I act before I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the, you know, he always gives me like another angle or like another perspective or like a level-headed, like, you know, perspective. And so I asked him first, and or I asked Ian, and he said that he would be interested, you know, because we played so much together, like on No Respect, on Blendours in the Living Room. And so Ian said that he would be down to go to Germany. And I was like, yeah, I'm down to go to Germany, Gumbo or Neon Bone or whatever. I was like, but I gotta bring Ian with me. I'm not gonna go alone. And so if we did book something, or if we did do something, I know Ian is down to go. So,
well, dude, we got to stay in touch about that, because if I get my permission slip signed, then I'll meet you over there. We'll have a great time, because Lars is Gumbo Fran is Lars Hahnemann. He's the dude from Neon Bone. He's cut from the same cloth as us for sure. I mean, everything he's done it 100% like DIY, and his songs are awesome. And I don't know if you've heard much of Neon Bone, but it's
have, yeah.
Cool.
And he's done like he's done a cover of a Blendour song that was like really, really awesome. From Leanne. He did a cover of Leanne, which was really, really good. I was like almost in tears. It was so good.
He's a great dude. He's not only very talented, but very sincere, and like just a good person, you know. And that's like the best of everything. When you get someone like him, really sweet.
Let's do it. Let's go to Japan.
Go to Japan. We'll go to Germany.
Let's go to Japan. Let's go to Germany. I know that was supposed to be in January. Was it January? I feel like it was 2022, like early 2022 that they wanted to do it. And they were just trying to get their ducks in order, or, you know, ducks in a row over there. But I kind of left it in their court. I said that, you know, if Ian and I could get our round trip plane tickets paid for, then we would do it.
Yeah, well, we'll figure something out. I mean, I just got my passport renewed, so, you know, there's a lot of potential there. I want to ask you too about someone else who's very important to me as a friend and a songwriter, someone who I know has inspired you too. I got to give the official shout out to Lars, though. Lars, you rule. But the person I have in mind is Cody. You know, Cody from Lillingtons and Bottle Rocket. Yeah. Bottle Rocket covered your song, you know, and that must have felt pretty cool. And then Cody, being who he is, you know, he's a very humble guy, pretty shy. He's got his own, you know, battles with mental stuff like us, you know, with his anxiety and whatever. But I don't want to put him on blast, but it's like a common thing among artists. And his songwriting and his voice is just it was always to me such an inspiring, permission giving sort of thing. Like, it's like, wow, look at that. Like, simple music, super catchy, full speed ahead. Like, I want to do this too. And I don't know if he had that effect on you, but a lot of what I do is directly influenced by the Lillingtons and by him specifically, and TBR too, you know. So
I didn't think it's kind of strange, because like TBR and Lillingtons, it just hit at that perfect time where I was just like starting to understand music, like really understanding like how to make songs. And it's weird because you know, I don't want to take anything away from them, but it was
Mhm.
just, it was like whatever I had been listening to at that time that I was like actually starting to get good at music. Like maybe it was Barry Manilow or something.
Yeah.
Like maybe I started would have started to write songs more like Barry Manilow. But there was like an intangible factor to like Cody and TBR and all that stuff that like I'm sure that attracted me that I'm not aware of.
Mhm.
Um, you know, like you said, like you know, all their own battles, their own insecurities and stuff. I'm sure that that like resonated somehow through the music and through their, you know, the way that you know, watch videos on YouTube of them playing and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I'm sure I got that, and I didn't even realize it. But to me, it was just like the music is fast, the music is catchy, the music
Yeah.
is it's it's put out in a way that I can understand and feel like I can reproduce.
Yeah.
And you know, and that was like, you know, my competitive nature of just always wanting to like one up everything that I hear.
Mhm.
Like that was like the first thing that I heard that I was like, oh man, this is fucking awesome. I want to try to do something that's as good or better
Yeah.
than this song. And that's where like it came from the radio.
Yeah.
Was like a just a, you know, straight up Lillingtons ripoff, you know, because I love the Lillingtons, and I was just like, you know, wouldn't it be awesome if we had our own kind of like War of the Worlds kind of
Yeah.
anthem, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and so I feel like you know, I just listened to Death by Television so much that you know, I wrote that song, and I don't know, the rest was history.
Yeah. Have you had much dealings with Cody? Like, I know you guys probably played a couple shows together and stuff. Did you ever get to like?
Yeah, TBR's played a couple times in Des Moines, and we've played with them, and I remember I went out to eat with them one time at a little Mexican restaurant here in Des Moines, and we were chatting about I think Ray asked me what was like my favorite show that I've ever seen, like my favorite concert that
Oh,
I've ever been to. And I think I jokingly first I said Matchbox 20 because that
yeah.
was the that was the first concert that I ever went to when I was
Yeah.
like 9 years old or something, was Matchbox
Yeah.
20. And then
Yeah.
I said Shonen Knife was
Oh,
my
they're great.
was my favorite show that I've ever been to, because I mean, like honestly, I haven't actually been to that many shows just because of the vision and all that stuff. And
Mhm.
so, and I do remember Cody saying something like, "Psh, that was your favorite, that was your favorite show," or something like it. They were like heckling me about it, like, wow, that was your favorite show of all time. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's ridiculous. And I don't know. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it cut me deep, Cody, and I'll
Well,
never forgive you.
for me, they've always had kind of a big brother vibe in a way where they kind of give me shit for, and sometimes when I need it too, you know, like Ray's definitely like kind of put me in check a few times where it like hurt my feelings a little bit, but I was like, you know, he's kind of got a point. Like maybe I'm a little too hungry or I don't know, something, you know, he kind of like he dealt with me in a way where in the end it made sense and I respected him for it, but it just hurt at the time.
Yeah,
Whereas Cody's more for me, like, I mean, Cody and I both are like big metal heads and like we just related on a lot of different stuff. So like he and I've always just been like real close, just friendship wise. But it's all like crazy how that stuff works out because I didn't know him before. Like the only reason I met him was because I went to shows and like decided to bring him some metal CDs. Like, hey, dude, check this shit out, you know, and like friendships form that way. And I mean, with
mhm,
me and you too, it's just like common things, you know, like the stars align and then we end up having a good conversation. So it's cool. That's what I like about this digital world we live in. If you take a little bit of initiative, you can connect and make some meaningful relationships, I think.
totally. Yeah, there's, I guess, not to bring it down or anything, or not to bring down the conversation or anything. There's kind of a little bit of like I could sense that I was kind of getting a little more like um I would be very like critical of myself, or like if anybody had any like criticism of like my songs or like my, you know, the Blenders, just of me in any capacity. I kind of found myself just kind of cutting myself off from people more and more.
Mhm.
Kind of like during, I don't know, like probably around the time that I started to get into oldies music. I just kind of like cut myself off from um, like I did talk to Ray every now and then, and I did talk to like kind of people in like the pop punk community and stuff like that, and then I kind of just stopped talking to people more, and I've just tried to keep my like influences like very, like I just tried to be like more self-influenced. I don't even know what that means exactly, but
Mhm.
like people like will always recommend bands and like recommend like this and that and say that I should do something and say like you should do this on that. It's I don't There's just too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I like my friends in Surf Zombies, and you know, I just want to keep it a smaller group of people that I'm taking criticism from, and nothing against, like, I've messaged Ray on multiple occasions and said, like, how big of a role TBR played in me figuring out how to play music and how to write songs.
Yeah.
But just like at where I'm at right now, I just feel like, you know, I just I just need to keep a smaller group of people that I'm taking criticism from and that I'm influenced by, because you just have so many cooks in the kitchen and you have so many influences coming at you, and it's like, if you're a real like genius, like you could probably put that all in, the pot and make something awesome. But for me, it's like, with the power pop stuff, with with certain songs, it's like I'm just really getting influence from like just a few different things.
Mhm.
And that's I feel like I've been able to like flourish, bloom, whatever, because I've had a small, like a very narrow group of
Yeah.
people giving me critical feedback and stuff like that.
Well, I think that that's very wise because we live in an era where it's really easy to get distracted and consumed by social stuff, social media upkeep. The whole other aspect of being like a musician is trying to get it out there and communicate with people. And I've seen plenty of examples of, would-be songwriters who just kind of get stuck in this loop of always posting stuff and more like socially networking than actually creating the music. And so I relate to that for sure. And I think you need to give yourself space to be creative and to maintain some level of inspiration, because I personally can't deal with a lot of the whole Facebook, Instagram stuff. Like I try and check my messages often enough to respond to people who write to me or whatever, but it's like you could spend all of your time just looking at that shit and trying to
Right.
maintain some kind of presence in this scene, and that has nothing to do with actually making songs. So like I would
Right.
rather just make the songs, and I've really tried hard throughout the whole like Grimbeats thing to
Exactly.
just post
Exactly,
when I
dude.
have something. Like if I have a song, I'll post it. Otherwise, I don't really have a lot to comment on. I'll share things. I like to share what my friends are doing, like to help, kind of spread the word. But beyond that, I completely relate to not wanting to have so many cooks in the kitchen and so many. I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day, man. Like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You gonna bullshit all day? Like, I don't want to do that. I want to like get down to business and just keep my, nose to the grindstone or whatever.
Hmm. I Exactly. You hit it right on the head. It's I mean, I do my fair share of bullshitting.
Yeah, well, we're
I
human.
my downtime, and I watch professional Super Smash Brothers Melee
Yes.
quite often, and just watch speed runs and stuff like that. But my other time, it's like, yeah, there was a point where there was too many people coming at me and too many
Mhm.
people telling me what I should listen to. And it's just like I got enough influences, you know what I mean? I really do. There's enough, I have enough bands. Like, I mean, really, the people that I need to listen to are right there. I know where they are. You know, it's just my brain just needs to mature, and like I just need to, you know, just sit down and just, you know, practice every day, and, you know, strum chords every day and come up with stuff every day. And that's how I'm really going to get better. It's not
Yep.
through like listening to this one magical band that's going to like fucking make me a brilliant songwriter or something like that, you know. It's
Well,
just
you'd mentioned Kim Shattuck before. I mean, I've read interviews with her where she was like, "Yeah, I just listen to like jazz and stuff. Like, I don't even listen to punk rock anymore." And she's not interested in new bands because she already has her way of doing things, and she
see,
knows.
she
You know?
figured it out. She figured out the formula. It's not, it's really not about like, I mean, you can produce stuff that way. Like I feel the exact same way where it's like I don't listen to pop punk that often. I listen to it sometimes, but like
Mhm.
really when I'm like going around the house doing chores and stuff, I just listen to like video game music
Yes.
a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
sometimes surf rock and stuff like that, just instrumental music. I sometimes I just kind of prefer music without words, to be
Mhm.
honest. And I don't know why that is. And I don't know why that leads me to keep creating music with vocals and,
Yeah.
you know, the way it is. But you know, it's just because I've heard everything that really, really captures me.
Mhm.
And I just think at this point, you know, I've got all the influences I need. And Kim know she knew what was up.
Yeah.
She knew what was up.
She knew when to graduate and like spread her wings and do her own thing. And I think that's what you're doing too. And that's good. I think because you know you gotta go off on your own at some point. And I gotta say this, like I would be remiss in this interview if I didn't bring up video games because I think we're
Sure.
about 10 years apart. I was born in 1980, so I had a 2600 Atari, I had an NES, I had a Sega Genesis. I saw the transition from 16-bit to 32-bit. I saw, you know, so arcades were
Well, no, you
still
saw the transition between like 8-bit and 16-bit.
8 to 16 was a big deal. And everything was still very arcade focused up until probably PlayStation 1, where it was like, holy
Mhm.
shit, like you can have games at home that are actually just as good, maybe even better than the arcade. Like that was a
Yeah,
totally
the PS1 must have been fucking huge. Like to see shit in 3D and like the Jaguar and stuff. I don't know if you
Jaguar, yeah, 3DO. And I mean, before that, there was like Sega CD and Neo Geo was probably my holy grail console system, you know, because in Japan that was like such a standard throughout the 90s and all the 2D fighter games and stuff. They still have arcades like that over there. When I went, they had like multi-level arcades with just different
oh
genres of games. So like here's your fighting genre level, then you go up a floor and it's more, you know, it's a first person shooter level, or you know, every level had something unique and special, and they keep it alive there, man. It's amazing.
when are we going? Do we
Yeah,
have
we
the
gotta we gotta plan it.
do we have the dates or like
Well, I mean, with the
oh
time
man.
I definitely plan on going back as much as I can because it really struck. I mean, when you're riding the Shinkansen bullet train and you're just looking at the scenery and you're going into like Osaka or Tokyo or Kyoto, those are the places I visited. It's as good. It's even better than you can imagine, really. You know, once you're actually there, it's awesome. So
I
we got.
just I would love it. I would love it. And if Ian and I could do it, I
Mhm.
you know, if we get some dates booked, I know it would change our lives. We would do it, and it'd be amazing. And yeah,
Yeah, man.
also to come over to Europe and play Germany and stuff like that would be awesome too. I hope that can happen. Sounds amazing.
Well, it sounds like we've got much more to talk about. You know, like future wise planning and keeping tabs on each other and stuff because I know that you know that I could probably offer you some help in achieving some of those goals. And yeah, man, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but you know I'm looking at my list of various topics and stuff. I think I've pretty much covered most of what I wanted to talk about, and I really appreciate you know you giving me the time, and it's been fun to connect. I always had a feeling like you and I would get along really well, and it just was like you know it's all about timing and just the stars aligned. So here we are.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I think, you know, a lot of people kind of it's not you. I think it's just, it really is just timing. Like a lot of people just kind of like put a bad taste in my mouth about like us, talking to like new people about pop punk and stuff like that. And I was just like, I think what I said to you was something like, I just don't have any room in my life right now to like have
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a close friend.
yeah.
I think I was kind of echoing what the fuck Matthew Broderick said to Jim Carrey in Cable Guy, where I was like,
Mm,
I just don't have any room in my life for a new
right.
friend. And
Yeah.
it's because that's just kind of how I felt at the time. I had a lot of things going at the time that I just kind of like just needed to get settled down, settled in, and just just there's just a lot of issues,
Yeah.
family issues, uh, relationship issues, and just personal issues that I feel like I have resolved now. And
Yeah.
you seem like a legit dude, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like, yeah, there's this, it's been a lot of good stuff,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel good right in
Well,
here.
and I want to be fair to you because when I initially contacted you back then, it's very very good chance that I was stoned out of my mind, and I know I kind of came like full force, like yeah 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 yeah, like that can be a little off putting, like the energy level might have been a little too strong. So I realize that now, and like it's totally cool, man. Like you said, it's all about timing and things happening when they're meant to happen. So I'm
I
stoked.
was I was taking it, slow. Like us Iowans, we move at a
Yeah,
slower pace, and I was
I
just,
respect it.
I was just trying to walk down the street and grab a smoothie,
There
and
you
I was
go.
like, man, I got this guy blowing up my phone right now and telling me all these bands I
What
should
happened?
listen to, and
Like 80s anime or 90s anime? Yeah, I was just firing on all cylinders. I got to come out to Iowa sometime, man. I want to check it out. I'll come out
you
and
should. If you came out, you'd get a show booked. I can't
cool.
promise you any thing as far as like a guarantee, because we
Dude,
don't we don't get guarantees. Like if Blendours played, it's very few and far between that we like, really get like a built-in crowd of people coming to see us or
I
anything
just
like that.
for the experience. I'm sure it'd be really fun.
You
Yeah.
come on out. I
All
actually
right.
have a guest. I have a guest bedroom now.
Hey,
This room. This is where you would sleep,
nice.
right here.
In good company with all my favorite characters there. It's
You
cool.
got a lot of good ones. A lot of good ones.
Well, man, like I said, I really appreciate your time, and it was fun. And I'll edit this up. We'll make it look cool, and I'll put it out there. And I think
Yeah.
we'll be stoked.
Make me look cool, baby.
Yeah, man, and yeah, keep me posted on your music and everything else. Whatever you want to share, I'm happy to take it in, and I'll do the same.
To- Totally, dude.
Right
Thanks,
on.
dude. I
Yeah,
loved
man.
it.
Have a good
Had a
night,
great
and
time.
yeah, take care, and onwards and upwards. See you next.
Totally.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.